Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to extend the wood floor tutorial we did earlier, and we're going to add more bump to it using bump offset and parallax occlusion mapping. So on the screen right now you can see the result of the parallax occlusion mapping, and that's running in Unreal. We'll also do bump offset for a more performance-friendly version. But this one should be pretty quick because we're just adding on to a tutorial we've already done. To get to this point, you're going to have done our wood floor tutorial, and I will link that in the description. So we're going to start in Substance Designer. And here's our material that we've already created. You can see all of our different sections here. The only thing we need now is a height map. So we have a height map running into the normal map here. So we're just going to kind of take this one and change it a little bit and use it. So what I want to do is I just want to select the whole thing. Control C, Control V. You can actually delete out the frame. Let's just kind of move this. And right here we're going to double click on it so that it gives us our result all the way through till the end. Now the only thing we really need to change in order to turn this into a usable height map, because right now this height map has, the angles are a little too steep. If we put that in there right now, our boards would be going all kind of wonky. Now the reason we made these angles steep to begin with is because we were trying to get them to look good in Unreal just using the normal map. Now I'm not going to do it this way anymore. I'm going to actually just continue materials all the way to the end and add the height map. Originally when I created this material, I was making materials for a starting with Unreal series. Unfortunately, that one hasn't gotten any views. So from now on, I'm just going to make materials from the start to the end, and then we can just have the finished product. So in order to get to this point, of course, like I said before, you need to have the previous version done, and I'll link that in the description. Now, here we are. We need to change these here. And let's see. We go down to this second brick generator right here. And then click on that, and then you can open up the properties here on the right. And we want to get rid of this. The slope is too much for one. So we're going to knock the slope, you can see on the right-hand side, to 0.35. and 0.35, and feel free to play with these values once you get the hang of this, and then you can kind of make your boards kind of slightly curve out and slightly curve in and do all sorts of fun stuff. So for the height also, we're going to add some height to this. So we go to the height variation right here, and let's put in 0.4. And that'll make some bump out and some bump in. And again, play with these values. So let's save that. And I think because we're using the height now as well, I think we're going to also change our slope a little bit on our main map, because I don't think we want it to be quite as slopey as it is. So go back to the brick generator that runs into your normal output here. And maybe we'll knock this down to 0.5. Let's do 0.5. I didn't necessarily plan this part, but as I was looking at the texture, as I've looked at it, I thought maybe this slope could be reduced a little bit. And then we'll follow that all the way through into the blend, and that looks good there at the end. So again, let's save. Now basically that's all we need to do in Substance. We're going to add a node here, another output, and just a straight up output. And we'll just plug this into the output. It doesn't need to connect to our 3D render because we're rendering it in Unreal, and we don't really need to know what it looks like in here. So for the identifier for this output, let's put height in all caps, and let's go through our other outputs as well. And for normal, instead of that, we'll put NRM. And this will be the suffix when it exports, so we want to make sure we have the suffixes we want. So roughness, we'll put rough in. Okay. And then let's go up to our color up here. put col in, C-O-L. All right. Save that quick. And now the only other thing we need to do is over here is rename our substance graph. Let's rename that to T wood floor. Okay, and it'll become apparent why we're doing this in a second here. So save all. And now we'll go to the T-wood floor here, right click on it and export the outputs so that we can then import them into Unreal. So in this, it'll show you the folder it wants to send it, which I've already picked out. So you just pick out wherever you want to send it. Keep it in bitmap, BMP. This tells you the graph name plus the identifier is how it's going to name it. So it's previewing it right there. And change all of these ones to sRGB. So instead of raw, sRGB, normal, sRGB, rough, sRGB, and export the outputs. So close that, and I'm just going to look in my folder to see if it exported it correctly. And there we go. We have wood floor color, height, normal, and rough. Perfect. Exactly what we want. So now let's open up Unreal. Now, if you know how to do your materials already in Unreal, you're going to have to put them together yourself. I already have some pre-made materials put together here. And if you don't know how to put these kinds of materials together, these master materials, I have a video going over that. So just check that out, and I will put a link to that in the description, okay? Well, let's do 3 versions of our material, okay? So first of all, let's import our textures. So go into our texture folder here, go into import into current folder, and we'll go to wood floor toot and open those 4. And it says the wood floor was imported as normal map. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now we'll make our materials. So first of all, let's take our normal bump here and make one without the height map. So create a material instance, right click on this, create a material instance, MI, wood, floor, NB for normal bump, okay? And then let's make one for bump offset, so right click on that, create material instance, MI, wood, floor, BO for bump offset, okay? And then this one's for parallax occlusion, so right click on that, create material instance, MI, wood, floor, POM. And again, I have a tutorial showing you how to make these if you don't want to have to make them yourself. So just check out the description and you'll be able to make exactly what we have here. So we'll save that. So first of all, let's open up our MI wood floor NB, which is normal bump, and that just doesn't have a height map. So we'll just tick on our parameters here to allow us to add our maps. We'll put in our maps, we'll put the color in, normal, and roughness. And there's our first material. Looks pretty good because we made it to look good with just the normal map before we even applied any kind of height to it. So close that. Now let's make our second material. Let's do MI wood floor BO, which is bump offset. And we'll probably have to adjust some values, but we'll kind of get them set up first. So click on these tick boxes here. We'll put in our textures, color, normal, height, and roughness. Okay, now you can see, and it's trying to bump it out a little bit, and you can kind of see that there. And we'll show you a little bit closer once we get it onto our stuff. So save that. Close that down. Then for our last one, and the most impressive one, is going to be the MI wood floor POM, or parallax occlusion mapping. So open that up. Select our maps. Bring our textures in. Color map. Height map. normal map, roughness map. Now you can see this one is really starting to bump out those boards. Pretty cool. But we're going to get a better view once I stick it on that stuff. But if you want, you can kind of open this up and start getting a good preview. See how some of them are kind of cutting out there. So save. All right, now let's throw our materials onto the demo, the sphere here and the floor. So first of all, we'll put normal bump on this one. Come to the second one, put bump offset on that one. And then on the third one, we'll put parallax occlusion mapping. Okay. Now save that. So first, let's go take a look at our normal one. And you can see the normal one does have some bump, but that's just due to the normal map. But you can see it's trying to change the lighting on the normal per pixel. So you can kind of see that there. It's a pretty good result because we made this material to look pretty good without having any extra bump. So that's kind of the first one. Now let's go over to bump offset. Now you see with bump offset, it tries to bump it up a little bit more. Now it's kind of set funny right now, so let's open up our bump offset. And right now we have the height ratio set at 0.02, which is obviously too high because you can see it's starting to pull things apart a little bit. So let's try 0.01. There we go. That looks better. Let's save that. And now you can see the boards are a little bit more bumped out. Now this effect isn't that great. Sometimes you can get it to look better on different types of materials. Here, let's kind of zoom in a little bit so you can see. Just kind of do this. And you can see there is a little bit more bump to the boards. You can see them kind of starting to bevel out a little bit. Now this isn't that incredible of an effect, like I said, but this is the kind of effect that you would want to do maybe if you had a system with a little bit lower system requirements or something, a little bit less performance, then you could use bump offset instead of parallax. You can try to put this ratio up to see if it doesn't pull it apart, 0.015. And actually that one doesn't look too bad. It kind of, you can start seeing the bevels as you pull it apart. Okay? But the more you pull it apart, like let's put 0.03, the more you pull it apart, the more it's going to break. And you can see like right in here, it's starting to pull these two apart because there's only really doing one UV manipulation. So let's go back to 0.01 and then we'll continue on. So close that. And now let's head over to parallax occlusion mapping. And that's the one that's going to be the impressive one. So now, with this one, you can see it's really starting to push out and pull in the different boards depending on, you know, we had those angles. Now you can adjust those angles to be a little bit less. So say you don't like how crazy this is getting to be like a trip hazard, but I figured we'd kind of overdo it a little bit so you can really see the effect in motion. So you can really see how things are bumped out. And our height map, and like say you change those angles of the boards that I showed you how to do, and you can actually change these, or maybe you want some to stick up and you want some to stick down a little more, but then you're causing a lot of tripping hazards, remember. So let's go into our parallax occlusion mapping material here. We'll change the height map on this one too. We'll go 0.01, probably to a more realistic height. And now you can see it's still bumping it out, but it's in a more realistic way, right? But you can adjust it. You can go kind of as crazy or as not crazy as you want to be. So that's kind of the cool effect. Now you can also go higher, so like say 0.03, and then it kind of goes really crazy, and there's not now you're starting to break it apart. So now you'd have to adjust our steps here. So like we'd say change our max steps to like 64, and it would start smoothing things out, but you're getting a much more expensive shader. So be careful when you're adjusting these max steps up and down. So I like to keep it probably around 32, which is the default. And let's just keep this more reasonable in general. Let's say 0.015 just for now. And there you go. That's all it takes to add the parallax bump to our wood boards. And the reason for that is the way we set up the material in Substance to begin with. So in the future, I'm going to just, from my materials, I'm just going to go all the way from start to finish, from Substance to Unreal. And we're going to have that tutorial I was talking about that will tell you how to make the materials, and I'll include that in every tutorial just so I don't have to add that in, and just so it doesn't get repetitive for people who may want to watch different tutorials. So that's pretty much it. I hope you like this video. Thanks a lot for watching. I am a really small channel, so you could give me a like and subscribe if any of this was useful. And I really hope you have a great day. Have a good one.